What happens when live TV becomes a war zone? When time is running out, cameras are fixed, and every word can swing the story one way or another. It's a regular Tuesday morning in Manhattan. But inside the Good Morning America studio, something charged buzzes beneath the shine. The air smells of coffee, hairspray, and tension. Makeup lights hum gently, casting glows over mirrors as assistants hurry by with brushes and notes. A producer murmurs into her headset, "Going live in 60 seconds. Suddenly, the air feels heavier. The set sparkles under bright lights, floors polished to a flawless shine. Every chair, every cup, every camera mark is perfectly placed. Order, control, the illusion that nothing ever goes wrong here. But behind that perfection, pulses race. The countdown has begun, and the next few minutes will reach millions." Samuel L. Jackson steps through the side door like he's done it 1,000 times. Steady, composed, with that easy walk of a man who's faced every kind of storm and still moves untouched. A dark suit, crisp tie, his signature blend of confidence and cool. He nods kindly to the crew, flashes a smile that needs no practice, and sits down. He's here to discuss his latest film, a high-energy blockbuster. Another chapter in a career built on grit and charm. Just another interview, 15 minutes, a few laughs, a wave to the crowd, then out, simple. Across from him sits Michael Strahan, the face America wakes to, athlete turned anchor, charisma wrapped in a sharp suit. His smile glows under the cameras, practiced and perfect. He's the guy who can make anyone feel at ease on live TV. But this morning, there's something restless in his vibe, something a bit too sharp beneath the charm. Robin Roberts sits to his left, steady warmth shining from her, the show's moral anchor. George Stephanopoulos is farther down, reviewing his notes, precise as always. Together, they're the smooth engine of morning TV. The audience trickles in, sipping coffee from paper cups, whispering with that excited hush that comes before a live show. In the control booth, someone counts down, voice steady through the headset. "We're live in 5. The red tally light glows on camera 1. The air thickens. 3, 2, 1. Good Morning America." Michael's voice bursts through the speakers, all sunshine and confidence. Applause fills the studio, loud and obedient. Samuel smiles, giving a small wave. Cameras shift, lights tilt slightly to catch his profile. The rhythm of live TV moves like clockwork, smooth, predictable, flawless. But even in that first minute, there's a pulse beneath the perfection, a flicker behind the smiles. The crew senses it, though they can't name it. The room feels a few degrees warmer, the laughter a touch too quick. Somewhere deep inside the hum of the machines, the countdown to something unexpected has already started. 38 seconds. That's all it will take for everything to shift. The first few seconds glide by like a dream. Smiles flash. Cameras pivot. Michael leans in, his tone smooth as silk. "Sam, this new film of yours, man, it's wild. You're leaping off cars, fighting 6 guys at once. You're doing your own stunts again." Samuel chuckles lightly, a warm, rolling laugh that always wins a crowd. "Yeah man, still got a few moves left." The audience laughs along, their ease returning. Robin's smile grows. George nods approvingly. For a brief moment, the studio breathes easy again. Everything feels right, effortless, the way morning TV is supposed to be. Michael smiles, riding the rhythm. "That's what I love, man. You just don't stop." He pauses, eyes glinting, his voice dropping just half a note. "But seriously, at your age, how much longer can you keep doing those crazy action roles?" The question lingers like static. A half beat of silence stretches too long. A tiny ripple crosses the room, barely visible but impossible to ignore. The laughter fades mid-breath. Robin's smile wavers for a split second. George glances at his notes, as if the right words might hide there. Someone in the audience coughs, sharp and lonely in the quiet. Samuel doesn't reply right away. His face barely changes, just a subtle tightening around the eyes. A small pause before he speaks, the kind that signals something's shifted. He leans back slightly, voice steady, almost too steady. "My age," he repeats, the words slow, deliberate, edged with irony. "I didn't know passion had a deadline." The line lands with quiet precision. It's not loud, but it cuts clean. A few nervous laughs flutter through the studio, thin, uncertain, the kind people use to fill space when they're unsure what to do. Michael chuckles too, but there's a crack in it, something brittle. "Hey, come on now," he says quickly, waving a hand. "You know I'm just joking." Robin steps in, voice soft but firm, smoothing the edges. "I think what Michael means," she says gently, "is that you've been doing this so long, and you still bring that amazing energy. How do you keep that going? It's the kind of save only a pro can make, graceful, seamless, but the air doesn't fully recover. The rhythm of the room has changed. The warmth that filled the space moments ago now feels thinner, fragile. Samuel gives a small smile, polite but distant. You keep going because you love what you do, he says simply. And I love this, always have. His tone is even, but his eyes carry something sharper, a quiet warning no one can quite name. Michael nods too quickly, his smile back in place, but his gaze flickers with a flash of unease before the cameras catch him smiling again. The audience claps, grateful for the cue, but the sound feels offbeat, forced. Under the bright lights, the show's surface still looks perfect. The laughter returns, the smiles hold, the cameras keep rolling. But the perfection has cracked just slightly. A hairline fracture running through the glossy charm. It's small enough to miss unless you're watching closely, because once a crack appears, it never really vanishes. It just waits for pressure. Michael leans forward, elbows on his knees, eyes fixed on Samuel with that practiced glint of curiosity. You know, Sam, he says, his tone half playful, half probing. You've been doing this for what, 40 years, maybe 50. You ever think about when it's time to pass the baton to the younger folks? There it is again, the smile, the tone, the so-called honesty that lands more like a jab than a question. The audience shifts, sensing something just beneath the surface. Robin's head tilts slightly, her instincts flaring. George glances up from his notes but stays silent. The air grows heavy in that way only live TV can create, tight, brittle, expectant. Samuel's fingers rest lightly on his knee, still. Pass the baton, he echoes, voice smooth as glass. I didn't know someone was timing me. The audience chuckles weakly, grateful for an escape, but the laughter fades too fast. Michael presses on, sensing a tension, mistaking tension for engagement. Come on, man, you know what I mean. Everyone's got to run their race. You've had a great one. But even the best have to slow down eventually. Let the new blood take the stage. Robin tries to cut in, her voice soft, quick, Michael. But he waves her off with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. No, I'm serious. It's a fair question. You've done it all. So when do you say okay, time to step back? The words hang there, sharp and echoing. Something in Samuel's face shifts, barely, but enough to change the room's gravity. His jaw tightens slightly. The smile fades, leaving a stillness that feels dangerous in its calm. Honesty, he says quietly, is one thing. Disrespect is another. The audience goes silent. Robin's hands fold in her lap, knuckles pale. George looks up, eyes darting between them like a referee searching for an opening. The tension is visible now, coiling between the two men like a live wire. Michael laughs too loud. Whoa, hold on. Disrespect. Come on, Sam, don't take it like that. I'm just keeping it real. Samuel leans forward just a fraction, enough for the light to catch the steel in his gaze. Keeping it real, he repeats softly, doesn't mean forgetting respect. His voice doesn't rise, but every word lands with surgical precision. Michael's smile falters for half a second before he steadies it. Hey, I'm just asking what people are thinking. You've done it all, man. Maybe it's time to enjoy the view, instead of climbing the mountain. The studio's brightness dims under the tension. The hum of machines suddenly louder than the audience's breathing. Robin exhales through her nose, poised to speak but unsure if it would help. The silence now isn't empty. It's loaded, humming, alive. Samuel's expression stays calm, but there's a flicker of heat behind the composure. You keep calling it honesty, he says, his voice low, steady. But that's not honesty. That's arrogance. The line slices through the room like cold air. The audience doesn't move. The laughter that filled gaps earlier is gone, replaced by a silence that makes every second feel longer. Michael blinks, his jaw tightening. Arrogance, he says, forcing a laugh that trembles at the edges. Man, you're reading too much into this. I'm just trying to have a real talk. Robin's voice cuts in soft pleading. Michael, let's move on. He ignores her. What? I can't ask a question. That's what we do here. Honest talk. Samuel doesn't flinch. His tone stays even. There's a line between curiosity and provocation, he says. You might want to learn the difference. The words hang heavy as stone. Robin's eyes drop to the table. George clears his throat but says nothing. In the control booth, a producer whispers, cut to commercial. No one responds. Michael leans back, crossing his arms, his smirk thin. Hey man, I didn't mean any offense. Samuel's reply is calm, almost too calm. Intent doesn't erase impact. You can hear it, the subtle shift in breathing across the studio, the collective awareness that something has gone off script. The camera operators don't move. The floor manager doesn't blink. Even the red tally light feels brighter, hotter, like it's feeding on the tension. For a long, suspended moment, nobody speaks. Robin stares at the space between them, lips pressed tight, her voice caught between professionalism and disbelief. When Samuel finally moves, it's small, a tilt of the head, a slow exhale, the kind of gesture that carries more power than any raised voice. His eyes meet Michael's, steady and unblinking. You call it honesty, he says, his tone soft but firm. But let's be real, Michael. This isn't honesty. This is ego dressed as truth. The studio freezes. You could hear the tick of a wristwatch, the faint hum of the lights above. The silence isn't awkward anymore. It's heavy, final. For the first time all morning, Michael Strahan has no answer. The silence stretches so long it starts to hum. Even the lights seem to buzz louder, the air thick enough to taste. Samuel sits perfectly still, eyes steady on Michael, the studio holding its breath. Robin looks from one to the other, lips tight, praying someone breaks the spell, but no one does. Michael forces a laugh, thin, brittle. Man, you're really taking this wrong, he says, voice wobbling between charm and defense. You can't tell me you've never heard that before. Come on, Sam, don't make it a big deal. Samuel exhales slowly through his nose, eyes still fixed. You think this isn't a big deal, he says quietly. His tone isn't angry. It's measured calm, but behind that calm lies something sharper, older, deeper. Respect isn't optional. Not for me. Not for anyone. Robin finally speaks, voice tight. Maybe we should take a quick break. Michael interrupts again, his smile twitching at the edges. Oh, come on, Robin, we're just talking. Sam knows I'm just asking the real questions. Real questions, Samuel repeats under his breath, a note of disbelief lacing the words. Then louder, real journalists don't ambush their guests. The room freezes. You can feel it, the temperature drop, the oxygen vanish. Robin's mouth opens slightly, but no words come. George stares straight ahead, caught between professionalism and panic. The audience murmurs, unsure whether to laugh, clap, or stay silent. Michael opens his mouth to respond, but nothing comes. His throat tightens, his famous smile collapses into something uneven. Wow, he mutters finally, trying to recover the rhythm. Guess I touched a nerve. Samuel doesn't blink. No, he says softly, you just showed me exactly where the line is. He reaches down, unhooks the small clip, holding his microphone cable to his jacket. The soft metallic click echoes louder than it should, a deliberate sound that cuts through chaos like a final word. Robin's hand lifts halfway off the table, a reflex, but she doesn't stop him. He sets the mic on the table, not a toss, not a slam, just a gentle placement, precise and final. The thud it makes on the polished wood is shockingly loud, a punctuation mark in the silence. The audience gasps. One woman in the front row covers her mouth. Samuel straightens, smooths his jacket, adjusts his cuffs. His composure is absolute. When he speaks, his voice is steady, low, commanding. I respect myself too much to play along with this, he says. If you wanted a spectacle, you'll have to do it without me. Robin leans forward, eyes wide. Samuel, please. He stops her with a small shake of the head. No need, he says. We're done here. For a moment there's nothing but silence. Then, from the back row, a single clap, hesitant at first, awkward, but then another joins, and another. The sound builds, small ripples growing into something like release. Applause fills the studio, soft, uneven, emotional. Michael stares at the mic on the table like it's something dangerous, something radioactive. He tries to smile, but it won't hold. Oh sure, he says, his voice edged with sarcasm. Real mature Sam. Walk away when things get tough. Samuel pauses mid-step, turns his head just enough for his voice to carry. Tough, he says, calm as ever. No, just toxic. His gaze sweeps the room, the lights, the cameras, the audience, and lands on Michael one last time. You think this is honesty? It's not. It's small. And I don't do small. He walks toward the edge of the set, not fast, not flustered, every step deliberate, unhurried, the quiet stride of a man, fully note. The original script cuts off mid-sentence at fully. To meet your requirement of keeping the volume the same and ensuring over 9,000 characters, I've continued the narrative in a way that aligns with the original tone and content, making slight word changes, while preserving the story's flow. Below is the continuation to complete the modified script, In Control. The studio doors part ahead of him, the glow of the hallway spilling in like sunlight breaking through a storm. Robin calls after him again, softer this time. Samuel, please. But he doesn't turn. He doesn't need to. His silence speaks louder than words. The cameras keep rolling because no one dares cut the feed. The crew stands frozen, torn between duty and awe. George starts to rise from his chair, then stops, realizing no words can fix what just happened. The applause swells again, a mix of admiration, shock, and confusion, the kind of reaction that comes when dignity walks out and leaves the rest to face itself. Samuel reaches the door and pauses just long enough to deliver one last truth over his shoulder. Real strength, he says, is knowing when to leave. The door closes behind him with a soft click, and for the first time all morning, the noise dies completely. The lights seem dimmer, the air heavier. Robin sits back in her chair, stunned. George exhales like he's been holding his breath for minutes. Michael is the only one still smiling, but the smile is wrong, stretched, hollow, hiding a tremor underneath. His fingers tap the edge of the table, restless, lost. The cameras are still live, but no one moves, no one speaks. The moment feels endless. Then Robin turns, her voice breaking the silence like a hammer. That's enough, and it is. The spell breaks. The show, for the first time in its history, has no script left to follow. Chaos doesn't erupt right away. It creeps in, slow and disbelieving. For a few long seconds after Samuel walks off, the studio stays still. The only sound is the hum of the lights, and the faint echo of that door clicking shut. Then, behind the glass wall of the control booth, a voice cracks through the silence. Cut to commercial. Now. The screen doesn't fade fast enough. The producers miss their window by half a heartbeat. And that half-second of raw, frozen confusion beams lev across the country. Millions see Robin stare into the lens, eyes wide, lips pressed tight. Michael's forced smile flickering like a glitch. Then the screen finally cuts to black. The bright words, "We'll be right back," flash across America. Behind the scenes, the studio bursts into whispers and running footsteps. The headset chatter is a storm of overlapping commands. Who's got the next segment ready? Did we lose him? Keep Strahan off camera when we come back. The floor manager wipes his forehead, muttering, "This is bad. This is really bad." Robin sits frozen for a moment longer, hands clasped on the table, knuckles white. George exhales hard beside her, loosening his tie. Michael tries to play casual, tapping his pen against the desk, but the tap is too fast, too loud. "He'll cool off," he mutters, mostly to himself. They always do. No one answers. The red tally light blinks back on. They're live again. Robin straightens, breathes once, twice, and turns to the camera with a calm she's forcing into place. Her voice is soft but firm. "Welcome back," she says. "As you just saw, we had an unexpected moment on set this morning. We want to take a moment to apologize to our guest and to our viewers. That exchange doesn't reflect who we are or what this show stands for." Her tone is composed, but her eyes glisten under the lights. George steps in, his voice measured, professional, a lifeline to steady the sinking ship. Samuel L. Jackson is a legend, and he deserves the respect of this platform. We regret that he didn't receive that today. Robin nods, her voice tightening. "We'll be reaching out to him personally." The camera shifts to a wide shot. Michael sits between them, jaw locked, eyes straight ahead, every muscle working to keep him still. The producer's orders during the break were clear: say nothing. Let Robin and George handle it. The next segment begins, but it feels like a hostage scene. A celebrity chef smiles too wide as he whisks batter that sloshes over the bowl. His laugh breaks halfway through a line. "We're making pumpkin spice pancakes, perfect for fall," he stammers, hands shaking. The sizzling pan hisses too loud in the silence. Robin forces a smile, murmuring, "Smells great." George pretends to read notes he's already memorized. In the control booth, a producer rubs his temples. "This is painful," he mutters. The weather report that follows is no better. The meteorologist rushes through the map, voice cracking. "Some rain up north, anyway. Back to you, Robin." He's off screen before the transition finishes. Michael hasn't moved. He sits stiff in his chair, staring ahead, a statue in a suit. His smile is gone, replaced by something colder. Robin doesn't look at him. George doesn't either. Between them, the air feels vacuum, sealed, suffocating. A paper note slips from the stack and hits the table with a slap that sounds like thunder. Robin flinches. George catches it, smooths it out, continues reading as if nothing happened. During the next commercial break, Michael finally stands. No warning, no glance. He rises, pushes the chair back hard enough for the legs to scrape the floor, and walks off set. The door swings shut behind him with a sharp, hollow slam that echoes through the studio. Robin exhales, her composure breaking for a moment. "What a morning," she whispers, half to herself. George doesn't look up. "You can say that again." The floor crew moves quietly, pretending not to have heard. Someone in the control room mutters, "Cut his mic feed." Robin picks up her next note, steadying herself, but her voice is firmer now, steel under silk. She looks toward the camera as the countdown begins again. 3, 2, 1. When the red light flares back to life, she smiles, a wary, knowing smile that's all professionalism and quiet power. "Welcome back to Good Morning America," she says. "We're here together, as always." She glances briefly at the empty seat beside her, then adds, clear enough for the studio and the country to hear, "This is our show, Michael, not yours." The line lands like a judge's gavel, and for the first time all morning, the balance of power shifts back to where it belongs. The storm doesn't wait for the sun to rise. By the time the Good Morning America crew packs up and stumbles into the New York air, the footage has already escaped the building. 38 seconds of tension, one soft click of a microphone, and Samuel L. Jackson walking off camera. Every frame floods the internet before the show's final credits roll. By noon, the clip is everywhere, on phones, laptops, street screens outside coffee shops. TikTok slows it down, looping the moment the mic hits the table with dramatic music. YouTube analysts freeze each frame, narrating Samuel's composure like sports commentators breaking down a championship play. On X, the hashtags ignite. Respect Samuel Jackson rockets to the top of trending, chased by G-Man Chaos and When to Walk Away. Every comment thread becomes a battlefield. "Michael was just being honest," one user writes. "If celebs can't take tough questions, they shouldn't do live TV." The reply fires back instantly, "That wasn't honesty, that was ego dressed as journalism." Samuel handled it like a king. Screens overflow with reaction videos, actors, journalists, fans in pajamas giving their verdicts. Memes multiply: Robin's frozen expression, George's wide-eyed stare, Michael's smile crumbling. One looped gif of Samuel setting down the mic gets millions of shares in hours. Inside ABC headquarters, the mood shifts from shock to panic. An emergency meeting is called, closed doors, no phones allowed. The network's top executives sit around a glossy table under harsh white lights that make the tension look worse. Someone plays the viral clip again on the big screen. Nobody talks until it ends. The silence afterward is thicker than the air itself. Finally, one voice cuts through: "We need a statement now." Another counters, "If we rush it, we look guilty." Guilty of what? Everyone saw it. There's no spinning this. A younger exec chimes in. "Nerves barely contain sponsors are calling. They want to know what we're doing to manage optics." One's threatening to pull ads from tomorrow's broadcast. That gets their attention. Chairs creak. Pens tap. A woman at the table mutters, "Do we protect Michael or the brand?" The room goes still. A senior producer sighs: "The brand is already bleeding." Across the city, the world keeps dissecting the moment from every angle. Rival morning shows play the clip on loop, each anchor offering their analysis. Was it a meltdown or a masterclass in boundaries? One asks. A guest psychologist calls it controlled dignity under provocation. Late night hosts turn it into monologues, some playful, others sincere. When Samuel L. Jackson leaves you speechless, one quips, "It's time to rethink your career choices." Through it all, Samuel stays silent. No statements, no posts, no interviews, just stillness. And somehow, that silence becomes the loudest voice in the conversation. It's calm, it's control, carries more weight than any publicist's crafted apology. By evening, the phrase "when to walk away" trends across platforms, not as a meme but as a mantra. People quote him, his steady tone, his quiet defiance, using it as a lesson in knowing your worth. Editorial headlines bloom. "The Art of Leaving with Dignity, What Samuel L. Jackson Taught Us About Boundaries." The walk off heard around the world. Inside ABC, the crisis meeting drags on for hours. PR teams draft and discard half a dozen statements. One apologizes, another defends, a third tries to neutralize everything with corporate vagueness. None satisfy the room. The legal team argues about liability, while the marketing director rubs her temples. muttering we can't apologize without admitting failure. George Stephanopoulos stops by the doorway briefly, his face unreadable. Start with the truth, he says quietly. People already know what happened, you just have to decide if you do. Then he leaves. No one speaks for a long time. The clock ticks past midnight, the hum of the city outside merging with the low buzz of exhaustion. Somewhere beyond all this, Samuel sits alone in a quiet hotel room, a phone turned face down on the table. The city glows outside his window, its noise far away. He doesn't scroll, he doesn't read. He doesn't need to. The world is already speaking for him. Because sometimes silence isn't absence, it's authority. And tonight, the calm of one man echoes louder than the chaos of an entire network. By morning, even the executives know it. They can't contain the storm. They can only decide which side of it to stand on. By dawn, the storm settles into something quieter, heavier. Not gone, just changed shape. Screens across America replay the same clip again and again. Samuel L. Jackson standing tall, steady, his hand unclipping the mic, the soft click echoing like a verdict. The world has decided what it means. News anchors call it a masterclass in composure. Columnists write essays about respect, boundaries, and grace under fire. Entertainment shows can't stop looping the moment he turns and walks away. Commentators slowing it down frame by frame, studying the silence between his words as if it holds a secret. And maybe it does, because somehow, without a single outburst, Samuel said everything that needed saying. Inside ABC, the atmosphere shifts from damage control to reflection. Robin moves through the hallways, the weight of experience etched in her face. She's tired, but her voice carries new steel when she addresses the team. We do better from now on, she says simply. No one argues. George stands beside her, quiet, steady. They both know the show will survive, but not unchanged. Something fundamental has been exposed, and there's no rewinding it. Michael's chair stays empty that morning. Officially, he's on leave. Unofficially, he's a ghost haunting every conversation. The producers avoid his name. The audience notices. The network statement goes live before noon, measured, apologetic, clinical. But the real message is unwritten. The audience saw the difference between confidence and arrogance, and they chose which one deserved applause. Meanwhile, Samuel remains silent. No interviews, no statements, no corrections, just stillness. That silence becomes legend. It isn't absence, it's authority. Commentators call the moment the walk, oft heard around the world. Universities use it in media ethics lectures. Talk show hosts debate not whether he was right, but why it resonated so deeply. By week's end, the viral frenzy cools, but the image remains. Samuel's back to the camera, shoulders squared, walking toward the edge of the frame. His shadow stretches under the studio lights, long and unwavering. The applause lingers faintly in the background, a ghost of sound that refuses to die. In a world obsessed with staying on screen, he did the opposite. He stepped out and somehow became larger than the frame itself, because in an industry built on noise, the loudest thing Samuel L. Jackson ever did was walk away.